Good morning, and I'm going to do a 45-minute walk to church and then head back. So get my first workout in really early in the morning. Feel free to skip to 40 seconds if you just want to see the yoga workout. Make some food after, so peace. Yeah, so I didn't check the email, and apparently it's Zoom only service today, so well. Chicken tacos. Yay!
More flavor.
Round two. There's a torrential downpour, so I'm repping the poncho drip. Shout out to Hockle. For this yoga session, just specifically targeting the hamstrings. I was dealing with some tightness throughout the day and just for the last couple days, really. And just did a yoga flow, working on different stretches, starting with the downward facing dog. So after loosening up my hamstrings a little bit, I transitioned to a low lunge to target those hip flexors a little bit. And I'm pushing on the knee to really just target the abductors. And again, just to loosen up that hip flexor before I transition to a little bit more of a flow. And here I'm beginning to, again, just loosen up that hamstring as well as my back before I start getting into the actual yoga flow. And whenever you're holding a yoga exercise, you really just want to focus on your breathing. Just continue to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and just keep your position. And after loosening up my hamstrings, I begin to target the hips a little bit here and transition into a mermaid pose. This is targeting my quadriceps, and this is actually quite a difficult exercise. So I was breathing, really just focusing on my breath throughout the exercise to get through it as best I could. And here I'm transitioning back into the low lunge and beginning the flow, transitioning back from stretching my hamstrings and back to the low lunge again, reaching back, using those hip flexors a little bit, and back to the hamstring, breathing throughout, just focusing on my breath. After finishing the brief flow, I transition to a high lunge and then into a downward facing fold, just targeting those hamstrings. And I'm a little bit lackadaisical intentionally, just to loosen up the hamstrings before I start reaching all the way down. And here I actually lift my left leg in front of my right leg and really just targeting that right hamstring as best as I can. And attempt to reach up a little bit to just really stretch that right hamstring, just targeting that one leg there. After targeting that hamstring, I now transition into a low lunge and back into downward facing dog and into upward facing dog and back into downward facing dog. Really just working on transitioning between the different yoga exercises, breathing throughout, and just trying to loosen up those muscles. And here I transition from the downward facing dog to target my other leg into the low lunge, and then pushing on that knee to target the hip flexor once again. Just focused on breathing in and out targeting that one muscle, that right hip flexor. And here I transition into the mermaid pose, except for the other leg. Again, very difficult stretch, definitely intermediate or advanced, and really targeting that quadricep, and is a very painful exercise. And here I transition from the mermaid pose, flexing that left leg and the left foot, and stretching out the left hamstring once again. And now I'm transitioning back into the flow. This time I'm just targeting that left side instead of my right side. Transitioning from the low lunge and back into the hamstring stretch. And after the flow, I transition into a high lunge and back into my 2 feet in the downward forward fold, targeting both of those hamstrings once again. This time I cross over my right leg over my left, and I'm working on stretching out that left hamstring. And now I transition back into my high lunge, and then low lunge, and back into my downward facing dog and the upward facing dog. Working on transitioning between the different yoga stretches, back into my downward facing dog once again. Now that my hamstrings are properly loosened, I transition into a seated forward fold, dealing with some back tightness in the hips as well. So as you can tell, my hips are not bending forward as much as I would like, but still touching the toes. A lot of progress over the last month. So just working on breathing and just holding my position. And I end up holding this stretch for almost a minute or a little more, and I'm just gonna put it on speed up. And now I finish out my exercise with a seated butterfly, just laying down on my back and opening up those hips as best as I can. Great way to stretch out the groin area and also just relax your mind and the rest of your body and focus on your breathing. And I transition from the seated butterfly and pull up my knees to my chest and just rock side to side, loosen up those hips. It's a great exercise you can do after doing a workout. It helps you relax. And from there I transition into a cross-legged position. The cross-legged position is not really about stretching anything in particular. It's just about relaxing and breathing and just closing out your exercise with some mindfulness, just focusing on the present moment and not worrying about past or future things, and just being at peace with where you are, what you are, and Also appreciating the work that you just put in. And that is my short yoga exercise. What's up, y'all? I know this is a little bit different type of video, and I did a lot of yoga today. Did probably around an hour. That was just the last 10-15 minutes of stretching that I did. But I wanted to try doing my own type of yoga walkthrough. Please feel free to let me know what you think. If I should not do it again, let me know. I had a pretty good day. Again, just the weekend, really wanted to work on loosening those muscles that I had just been tearing at and working all week. So tomorrow, hopefully we can get some a little bit more difficult exercises and workouts, and we'll see what happens, So I hope all of you have a great night, and I will see you for day 45.